All right, I'm ready.
I'd like to call to order the Landmarks Commission meeting for November 28th, 2022. Time is 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
David Craycraft.
Here.
Pete Lynch.
Here.
Roger White here. Jamal Cox.
Here.
Whitmore Dell.
Here.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Here.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Rich Dobda from the November 28th meeting.
Second.
Roll call. David Craycraft.
Yes.
Pete Lynch.
Yes.
Roger White, yes. Jamal Cox.
Yes.
Whitmore Dell.
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Can I get approval of minutes for October 24th, 2022 meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes on October 24th.
A second.
Roll call. David Craycraft.
Yes.
Pete Lynch.
Yes.
Roger White, yes. Jamal Cox.
Yes.
Whitmore Dell.
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Pending applications.
The application on tonight's meeting is CA 22-041. The location subject property is 103 West Waterloo Street. The request this evening is for some exterior building and site modifications. Up on the screen are photographs I have from 2019 of the subject property. This is the former Napa building on West Waterloo Street. They recently moved to 152 West Waterloo Street with that building's renovation project being completed. The applicant this evening is requesting to change the exterior of the building for future tenant build-out. Up on the screen is the current site plan for the subject property. This site is unique in that it has over 130 feet of access drive frontage along West Waterloo Street, starting on the adjacent parcel here to the west, all the way across to the end of their frontage here is all flush with grade. Curbs for parking on front of the building here, and then head-in parking on this side of the building here, and there's some informal parking that people use, the employees use here in the back. With the project, the applicant is looking to reduce some of the access here by creating a dedicated in and out curb cut for a new parking lot. This new parking lot has 16 spaces that will be dedicated for the building. With the change, there's 11 spaces there currently, so they're gaining 7 with this redesign. With the redesign, again, the access drive cuts from 130 feet down to a 25-foot access drive here, and they'll be doing some landscaping on the front side of the building to kind of break it up from the street view. Further along the application, I'll talk about the dumpster enclosure that they're proposing to put in the back. This wasn't in your packet, but the applicant did send this to me prior, showing their landscaping plan, what they want to do, again, to break up some of that pavement on the front of the building, heavily landscaped between the building and the sidewalk, and then putting in 2 tree islands to identify that new curb cut that will lead into the formal parking space. Looking at the elevation view here of the building renovations, the applicant's looking to take off the mansard roof that's on the front, open up the windows that exist down to grade with new transoms at the base. The brick that's on the building now is a stucco brick, so it's just lines kind of scored in the stucco, and it's painted to look like brick. The applicant is looking to keep that, again, just open it up down to grade. And then above the storefront system would be a new metal awning system. A sample has been provided for you guys for the dark bronze color. That will be for the new windows and this awning system. Details provided in the plan showing how far it projects from the building. And then where the mansard roof was located, the applicant's looking to do a accent feature with some hardy board siding on the front. Right now they're just showing the business address identification, but this will be a location where signage can go in the future. When looking at the west facade here, you can see the proposed changes. Again, the existing stucco brick will remain as is. It's just rendered here to as close as it looks like in person for the rendering. They're looking to paint the existing CMU block, the Sherwin-Williams color. Sample has been provided for you guys for review for that color. And then for the new 8-inch exposure hardy siding, That lap siding paint sample has also been provided for your guys' review. For the storefront system, you can see here the two metal colors, and then the metal color for the windows, that sample has been provided for your guys' review as well. One thing to note on this elevation, there is an existing dock door back in this location. They plan on filling it in with new concrete block to remove it. That could be seen on this elevation here. And then looking at the north elevation here, you can see the changes with that mansard roof being removed, the new accent siding material being added. The height of this material is a little bit taller than the existing CMU block that's on the building now. Originally, it was planned for rooftop mechanicals to kind of help screen it, but the applicant has decided to do internal mechanicals to the facility. So this is really just more of an aesthetic kind of change to have the roof height a little taller than the block on the existing facade. The detail that's been provided for the canopy overhang, you can see here it projects 2 feet out from the building's face. And then when looking at the dumpster enclosure, they're looking at that to be a vertical board dumpster enclosure that's trimmed out that will hold 2 dumpsters side by side in the back of the facility. If there's any questions from the commission, I'd be glad to help answer. Both applicants are here this evening to answer any questions you guys have.
Hello.
Is the, the little overhang that you're going to put, is the soffit the exterior drywall, do you know? Or is it,
It's all metal clad.
the BRB, okay.
Tom, can I get you to go to the mic so I can pick you up on the audio?
Mine's stepping out.
sorry.
Thanks.
They can hear you, but I won't be able to hear you on the recording.
It should be on that one cut sheet on the.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Okay.
Todd, that's pretty much all metal tube light type material, the whole awning structure.
Yeah, well, I
Same
mean,
as the
we're
windows.
sort of a toss-up right now, and you're familiar with it, I know, but we're concerned about oil canning on that metal. And there's a Weyerhaeuser that makes a panel 15, that the metal's bonded to a sheet of plywood, so it can't oil can.
Okay.
It would be one or the other, but it would be the same color. There would be no change in what it looks like right there.
I hadn't seen that option, but that's probably smart. Yeah, I've seen that kind of where it bubbles out before
Yeah,
the
just
oil
looks
can.
terrible.
Yeah.
Todd, in the future, you're going to have a tenant in this building?
Yeah.
That's the plan. Where's your signage going to be?
There's a site plan, Roger, that shows a monument sign out right there. It's right out in the landscape.
Okay.
They would have two options. I mean, depending who the tenant is, they could come to you guys with a building sign similar to what Napa did, or they could forego the building sign and go with a monument sign. So,
Have you thought about lighting yet? About exterior lighting?
no.
Okay. Come up with that later.
No, I'm sure there would be some in that canopy, but we just haven't got that far along.
Hey, Todd, you might just want to question, in one of the notes in this section, it calls out 2x8 framing up here, and then down here, it calls out for 2x12.
Oh, okay.
So just,
All right.
I mean, it's no big deal, just I want to bring it to your attention.
Looks like 2x8.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
Good
that
catch.
band, that fascia, is called out by is a 2x12, which makes sense, the
Right.
framing would be 2x8. The actual,
So the brick's gonna be painted there on the front?
It's, the way they did stucco brick back when my dad actually built that building, but they put on a gray scratch coat, which would be the mortar color. And then they come back and put the brown color on, and then they had tines that they would break through the brown color to expose the gray color. And then to get the texture, they'd come back with a brush and back brush like every other brick. So our intent is to not paint that, but the reason, one of the reasons, if you notice, the damage to the stucco brick is below the windows, and we're taking those windows down to the sidewalk, and then we're also putting like a cart stop in the front, masonry soap, I think it shows up as dark brown, and, right here. But no, we won't be, we would not be painting the,
Okay, it just looks.
and they may have it noted to do so, but we called them a month ago and said, we do not want to paint that. That would be that'd be troublesome. To make it look good.
That's, looks like an 8-inch CMU siding. Doesn't really specify what size, but it kind of looks like an 8-inch
I think it
to me.
is.
It shows
If you go to the
Oh, it doesn't say?
materials,
Doesn't
sheet,
Oh, on that sheet it does, okay.
So Todd, you're saying this brick, these brick will be painted?
They will not.
They will not be painted?
Yeah, it just looks darker.
Andrew, could you go to the front elevation, please? Okay.
So you can see that our one concern was the damage at the bottom. But when the windows get taken down to the sidewalk, most of the damage goes away. And whatever remains will be covered up with that base.
Todd, in the rear where the trash is gonna go, what is the area on each side? Obviously, there's no parking right there.
Oh, you mean how
Is
much?
that just a grassy area there? What's going on beside these areas here? Or is it just pavement?
Yes.
Okay. And what happens to the neighbors parking? Obviously, they're not gonna be able to
We
access
called
that.
Zach and asked to have a meeting with him, but his parking lot would become a driveway
Okay.
and go back to his back. And I'm assuming he was on the contiguous neighbor list, so I'm assuming he got notified of what's going on here.
so we don't send,
Oh, you don't send the-
we don't send adjacent neighbor lists.
Okay. Well, Bob and I have contacted him and told him we've closed and we'd like to meet with him and show him what we want to do. And I don't think it would crowd him. I mean, the pull-in parking wouldn't be able to happen anymore. But he's got a lot of space back and back that I think it would work.
And that curb cut goes all the way to his house, doesn't it, or the building?
It does.
Pretty much?
Yeah.
I think it's an attractive looking building.
Pardon me?
I think it's an attractive
Oh,
looking
thank you.
building. It kind of blends in with
Thank
the
you.
one across the street. The old super duper.
So they moved already with the,
They're right in the middle of it.
Oh, okay.
Napa has stopped and looked at their signs in the window. They were closing the end of this month, whether they had them open or not.
Okay.
There's some friction going on there. I don't know why, because Johnny's a 50-year Napa jobber, but there's just been some friction between corporate down in Atlanta, Georgia, and Johnny here in Canal Winchester, so. I don't think there'll be a time when there's not a store open. But, I think Johnny had to put his foot down because things were really dragging on the corporate end.
What's the timing on this project? Spring or?
You know, our intent was to start like, if you guys approve it tonight, submit it for a building permit tomorrow and start immediately. But I think with what interest rates have done, and we're probably gonna just sit still until springtime. And see, we'll continue to market the building and see if we get somebody inside right away. And we will probably file for a permit tomorrow or the next day if you guys approve it. And go ahead and get that procedure done, whether or not we start and do this in the winter. It's not a very good job to do it in the winter. I mean, we'll see.
Andrew, I was trying to look at that house that sits to the left of this. took a picture, but looks like it's 8-inch siding. I'm just
It does.
thinking about what the siding's gonna look like beside. Yeah, it's pretty similar to what's already on the house beside. Looks like
Mhm.
8-inch. Yeah, if you're facing it to the left. Looks like it has 8-inch lap siding on it as well. It's probably metal. I think it looks pretty good. Anybody have any further questions?
Let me find it. I'll make a motion to approve certificate CA-22-041 as stated.
I'll second.
Roll call, David Craycraft,
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Jamoy Cox,
Yes.
Pete Lynch.
Yes.
Whit Wardell.
Yes.
Roger White, yes.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
In terms of,
Holidays, we don't see you before.
Yeah, all right, too.
Yeah, you guys too. Have a good one.
See you later, Todd. See you, Bob.
for older new business, the only thing I have, or I guess two things. The first is the December meeting, moving that meeting date. Right now, it falls, would be the Tuesday, the 27th. With the holidays moving along, I know we typically move that to the Tuesday before. That's what we've done in years past. That would put the meeting at Tuesday, December 20th, at 7 PM. Wanted to see if that worked for majority of the group here.
Yes. Works for me.
What date did you say, Andrew?
Tuesday, December 20th.
Do you
Okay.
anticipate anything, or is there anything coming in right now for that?
I do have one application at least they wanted to be on this month's meeting, but for whatever reason, they never submitted. That one is for new siding on a house. I don't know why they didn't submit in time, but I assume that they'll try to get it in before the year's over. Is at least
I'm
the
okay
one.
with the 20th.
20th is fine with me.
Okay.
Good. Let's do it.
The only other thing I have for old or new business, we are in need of a 7th Landmarks Commission member. Jamoya is stepping down at the end of this year. And with that, we need to fill his remainder of his term. The one caveat to his position on the commission is he is filling the role of a business owner in the city. So we either need a business owner or manager of a company in Canal Winchester. Now, that seat, they do not have to be a resident. They just have to own or manage a business, commercial or industrial, within the corporation limits. So if anybody knows somebody that's interested in serving, that has a passion for the Old Town area and fits the manager or owner criteria, please let me know. That way we can try to get his seat filled before the first of the year. That one's probably gonna be the hardest seat to fill, just with that criteria involved. Any help that I can get from the board on filling that seat would be wonderful. I'm sure Jamoy would like to know he's leaving with somebody immediately gonna sit down in his spot rather than feeling like he's leaving a vacancy for the group. I can see the stress on his forehead already thinking about it. That's all I have this evening for old or new business. If there's anything else you guys want to talk about, it's still early enough this evening. If
Yeah, I got a
not, we get out of here.
question. The house across from Bob's house on High Street, you know, they're redoing their porch.
Uh-huh.
Did that just require your approval, or is that considered maintenance?
So that property Todd actually owns. They are replacing some of the damaged decking on the porch. And then when they were doing some of the decking, some of the footings underneath were rotten and need to be replaced. They're doing it like for like, so that's just a building permit.
Okay.
Does anyone here know Robert Hinton here in town?
Don't know the name.
So
No.
Pat Lynch reached out and had him contact me, and we have not talked yet, but he's a longtime resident, 2-3 generations here in town. I don't know if he's a business owner or not, but he's interested. I thought he said he was gonna go turn his application into you. You probably would have seen that.
No, he hasn't. I did reach out to Pat. And he said that he's enjoying retirement too much.
Yeah,
doesn't
that's what
wanna
he
come
said.
back, So,
He'd have to miss too many meetings for vacations.
I've had one person apply, but they're not a business owner, so they wouldn't be able to fill Jamoy's seat.
He came highly recommended, but he hasn't reached back out to me, so if I can contact.
So is he a business owner?
I don't know that, yeah.
That's the
He just
hardest
sent me-
caveat
He just
to
sent me a
fill.
message and we haven't got back together since, so.
Yep. Yeah, if he's interested, I'll at least we hold the applications for 2 years.
Okay.
So it's at least good to have a pile, on the back burner in case anything happens. I also have an opening for Planning and Zoning Commission. That one, you just have to be a resident. We had a board member, they just recently sold their house and moved. So if anybody knows somebody who's interested in being on P and Z. So far, it's been an easy gig this year. We've canceled the last 3 meetings because of no applications, so.
Oh, jeez.
There's only one in this December agenda, and I don't know of anything in the near future, so. That one, they're less intense than you guys for some reason, which is historically not the case, but.
They're less intense?
Yeah, like there's only been, we haven't had the last 3 meetings, there's been no agendas filed, so.
Hasn't even come down.
So that's all I have.
The town plan?
Oh, you wanted to share with them about the house over on Liberty Street?
Yes, thank you, Jeremiah, as well. So the project on Liberty Street, that warehouse project, met with them. They're looking to change some of the scope of that project a little bit. They are looking to eliminate the restaurant component from that and do just a bar, live entertainment venue in the back, and then some type of shopping experience up front. They're still working out the details on that. That's why they didn't reapply for tonight's meeting. But with the change in the back, removing the kitchen, last I talked with the architect and the owner, the pickup window will go away, and the patio on that side will go away. Other than that, that elevation would stay the same, other than no signage on it.
Do they need to make the change to that doorway then, if it's not gonna be covered?
They're looking to make it a little more simple. They're looking at doing just a tube light system all the way across instead of doing like some of the brick infill, because the kitchen won't be protruding into that area. But they're still working on, I think, like what the business is right now, so
I
they're
think
working on
you
those
said
details
that
first.
the reason why they changed their direction was the cost of the commercial kitchen.
Yeah, the cost of the kitchen well exceeded what the owner thought was reasonable, so they're looking to do phase 1 and then possibly in the future add a kitchen, but right now they're not planning on doing that. No matter what they do, they have to suppress the building, and that's a significant investment, putting fire suppression in. So they have to do that at a minimum to open. So that's really, where they're trying to figure out the financing for it right now.
Is that due to square footage and occupancy, or what?
It's the occupancy type and square footage. It would be an assembly use.
What is the square footage of that building, do you know?
I don't know, but I think their occupancy for the back half of the building was 500 people.
Wow.
500, that's a lot. It seems like a lot.
And then, as Jamoy mentioned, for the Old Town Plan, just a kind of, or excuse me, the community plan, just a brief update on that. We had this public engagement meetings in September, for those that came to those. We are going to have a second round of public engagement in November, but we held off on those. That way more of the data behind the plan could be developed and put together. Recently, what the group has been doing is taking a look at different types of development patterns. So like what type of residential is more comfortable for the community than other types, what type of commercial is more preferred, industrial, that we can kind of narrow down what types of patterns to pursue. And then the next step would be taking those patterns and kind of placing them on a map for how that development looks in Canal Winchester's borders. In the meantime, the community survey went out. 3/4 of the households in the city got them. Who in this room got one? Roger, you got one? It was a little flyer, said to go online and fill out a survey.
I got
Yeah.
one.
They went out first and second week in November. The survey's closed now, so don't go digging through your trash to find it. But we had 200 people respond, and then another 50 that were in progress when the survey closed. So we left the portal open for another week to see if any of those 50 kind of trickled in. But we expected, out of the 2,700 mailers we sent out, we expected a 10 to 15% response rate, which is around 200-300. So we're right around kind of where we thought we'd be. Numbers don't sound that good, but really, when you ask people to take a random survey, it's kind of where you hit. So the data from that survey is coming back. Those are at the September meetings. There was a retail market assessment study that was done. We're now doing a full real estate market analysis. So looking at residential to commercial to industrial, kind of what we have versus how it's occupied versus what's in the market. So all that data will be kind of collaborated with the survey results and the preferred development patterns from the steering committee to create the content for that next public engagement session. Right now, we're targeting doing that in January, January to February. That way, after the holiday rush is over, we can get people to get more involved. The locations for those meetings will be in our community center, so a little more kind of city-oriented space. We think maybe that'll make people feel a little more comfortable. We had about collectively 100 people attend the public meetings at Brewdog, so we don't know if people didn't feel comfortable going to that location to do it. So we figured this next round will be in a more formal setting. That's all I got.
Anybody else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:26.
I'll second.
Roll call, Pete Lynch.
Yes.
David Craycraft.
Yes.
Roger White, yes. Jamoya Cox.
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Whit Wardell.
Yes.